Landlords have been shaking in fear ever since the Labour government came into power, as a Labour government typically will introduce stricter rules for property investors. But the speculation is now over because Labour has revealed its significant plans for the property market, which could be a massive concern for some landlords. I'm a property developer that owns 29 rental properties, but I'm also a tenant, so this gives me a unique perspective. In this video, I'll explain the key changes and what they might mean for both landlords and tenants. To fully understand these reforms, first we must go back to when the rental sector reforms first became a major issue. This has been in talks since it was part of the Conservative government's manifesto in the past. The Conservatives eventually introduced a bill promising widespread changes, but after much debates and disagreements, the bill failed before the general election. Now with Labour in power, they've came with their own version, which many expected to be more difficult for landlords. So let's dive deeper into Labour's property reforms and look at the key details, facts, figures, and what they mean for both landlords and tenants. Labour's proposed changes. Number 1, no-fault evictions. One of the biggest headlines is the end of Section 21. In simple terms, landlords will no longer be able to evict tenants without giving a valid reason. Currently, Section 21 allows landlords to evict tenants after their tenancy agreement ends without needing a specific reason. Under Labour's reforms, all tenancies will run indefinitely. So for landlords, this raises concerns about flexibility on being able to get their properties back. You will still be able to repossess your property if you did need to move in or sell your property. However, there is a catch. You must wait at least 1 year before doing so. You will also need to give 4 months notice, an increase from the current 2 months notice. And if a tenant isn't paying rent, then the threshold for taking legal action is raised. The tenant must now be in 3 months arrears for the judge to order an eviction. This is a big deal because right now, landlords can often evict tenants when they're behind by 2 months worth of rent. Number 2. Rent increases. Under the new rules, landlords won't be able to lock in rent increases at the start of a tenancy agreement. So a lot of the time, when you get a tenant in one of your properties, you will build into the contract that every 6 months, the rent will be increased by say 5%, in line with the market value. This will no longer be a thing because landlords can only increase the rent once every year, and it must reflect the current market rate. And if the tenant feels like the rent increase is too high, they can actually challenge it through a tribunal. So this isn't exactly rent control. It's designed to stop landlords from increasing the rents to force tenants out. What this means for landlords is you'll need to be more cautious when planning rent increases and be prepared for potential delays if a tenant appeals. The concern here is that the tribunals will be overloaded with new tenant cases, leading to delays in implementing the rent increases. Currently, tribunals can take weeks or even months just to process cases, and with potential for disputes, this time frame could stretch even further. Number 3. Bidding wars. Bidding wars are often seen in competitive rental markets, where tenants offer more than the advertised rent to secure a property. However, Labour's plans will put an end to this. Landlords and agents must publish a set asking rent, and they won't be able to accept offers that are above that amount. This could significantly impact high demand areas where bidding wars are more common. In some cases, landlords might list properties for a higher asking rent right from the start to avoid losing out on potential higher offers. Number 4, anti-discrimination laws. Labour is also cracking down on discrimination within the rental market. This is a huge step towards making the housing market fairer for people, especially for families and those relying on housing assistance. However, some landlords have raised some serious concerns, particularly those with insurance or mortgage agreements that don't allow renting to tenants on benefits. The new law will override these contract terms, making it illegal to discriminate against income source. Number 5. Landlord database. Labour is proposing a national landlord database, which will require all landlords to register and list their properties. Local authorities will use this database to enforce regulations on landlords, and some details may even be made public, allowing tenants to verify landlords. So this is designed to keep rogue landlords in check. Existing tenancies will convert to the same system at the same time as new ones. This means that all tenancies, whether ongoing or future tenancies, will operate under these new rules from the day that they come into effect. However, it could mean additional costs for landlords to register and maintain their listings. So those are the main changes, but when will this happen? These reforms, they won't happen overnight. So don't stress. Go to the spa, do some meditation, some yoga, but make sure you prepare for the storm that's coming. Labour expect to pass these laws by summer 2025, with the most significant reforms such as the end of Section 21 evictions coming into effect first. Impact on the rental market. So what does this mean for landlords and tenants? For landlords, choosing the right tenant becomes more important than ever. With stricter eviction rules, landlords will have less flexibility on removing tenants, especially if they fall behind on rent or cause issues. If you do have to go through courts, the process could take much longer due to increased demand on the courts, potentially leaving landlords out of pocket. Accidental landlords, those who rent a property that they once lived in, they're likely to face the most challenges. The requirement to wait a year before selling or moving back into your property and the 4 months notice period will definitely limit flexibility. For tenants, they will benefit from greater security and protection. With the indefinite tenancies and the end of no-fault evictions, tenants can feel way more secure in their homes, knowing that they won't be evicted without cause. However, these reforms, they don't actually address the housing problem, which the main problem is there's just not enough homes for people to live in, meaning finding a rental property could be just as difficult, if not harder, in a competitive market. Although the government does have plans to build 1.5 million homes in 2025, which we will come on to very shortly. Rent prices. Whenever reforms like this happen, there's always speculation that landlords will increase rent prices to compensate for increased regulation. While Labour's reform plans don't exactly cap rents, eliminating bidding wars could lead to a one-off rise in asking rents, as landlords aim to price their properties at market value right from the start. Labour's 1.5 million homes plan. One of the most significant plans by the Labour government is to tackle the housing crisis head-on by building 1.5 million homes by 2025. This is a bold and ambitious target aimed at increasing housing supply, which would help ease the demand in both the buying and rental markets. Currently, housing shortages are one of the main reasons why house prices and rent prices have dramatically increased in many areas, making it difficult for both renters and first-time buyers to secure their homes. This initiative will include a mix of private homes and social housing homes, which is crucial for addressing the long-term issue of affordable housing. Labour's focus is not on just the amount of homes being built, but also the affordability, meaning a significant portion of these homes will be available at more affordable prices. However, there's many debates on, is this realistic? Is this actually going to happen? And is this 1.5 million homes goal achievable? Now, there are so many hurdles when trying to build homes. Critics argue that logistical, financial and regulation issues will slow this down and not actually make it possible for Labour to reach this goal. However, if it does happen, this would relieve some serious pressure on the rental market by providing more options and potentially curbing the problem of rising rents. The impact on social housing. For social housing, these reforms and the new homes target will be particularly important. One key focus of Labour's plan is to reverse the decades-long decline in social housing stock. The UK has lost millions of social housing homes since the 1980s due to policies like the Right to Buy scheme, where council homes were sold to private owners. But Labour intends to increase the availability of social housing homes as part of its broader social housing strategy. This means more homes being designed for low-income families, reducing the waiting list for council housing and providing more stable, long-term rental solutions for those who can't afford private rents. If successful, this could dramatically decrease the pressure on the rental market and provide more security for vulnerable tenants. Now, for me, as a HMO property developer, I use a strategy where I lease some of my HMOs to social housing providers. I do believe that this strategy will continue to work going forward, as I think even if 1.5 million homes are actually built, this still won't solve the housing issue. And I still believe there will be a lack of affordable housing. Don't get me wrong, it will definitely help the situation, but I think the problem is bigger. Because right now, there is a lack of government-owned properties, the government looks to private landlords, just like myself, to house vulnerable tenants and social housing tenants. If they had their own stock, so they started building all of these houses that they owned, it would definitely help the situation because it would take less pressure from the government to pay private landlords where they could just literally house social housing tenants themselves, this will definitely save the taxpayer a lot of money. That being said, I do definitely think they'll continue to work with private landlords and it'll be an ongoing relationship. If you would like an in-depth free consultation call on how to start, scale, and grow your property business in this crazy, ever-changing space, then all you need to do is click on the link in the description of this video, click Get Coached by Luigi, free consultation call, and we can see if the training and mentorship program is the right fit for yourself. Okay, let's talk permitted development rights for property developers. This is commonly referred to as PD, permitted development. And how could Labour's reform plans affect property developers when it comes to PD? Permitted development rights allow property developers to convert certain types of buildings, like offices or retail spaces, into residential units without needing to apply for full planning permission. This policy was expanded significantly under the Conservative government as part of their efforts to quickly boost housing supply. I personally use permitted development rights a lot when I take a normal home and I convert it into a HMO in non-Article 4 areas. And what this does is it means I can basically take a normal home, convert it up to a 6-bed HMO without applying for planning permission. This is a great strategy because it means I don't have to go through the lengthy planning process. But Labour has actually expressed their concerns with permitted development rights as they stand. They believe that it might have led to the creation of substandard housing, with some units being too small, lacking access to green spaces, or located in areas with poor infrastructure. Under Labour's reforms, it's likely that we'll see stricter regulations on permitted development rights, ensuring that any new homes that get built under permitted development meet the minimum space and quality standards. This could slow down the amount of new builds that are being built under permitted development rights, but it should increase the overall quality of the housing stock. For developers, this means stricter controls and potentially more hoops to jump through. They may no longer be able to take advantage of quick conversions of office buildings into residential flats, which has been a popular strategy in urban areas. Instead, developers may need to go through the lengthy planning process, leading to higher costs and longer timelines. However, this push for higher standards could actually lead to better living conditions for tenants and avoid the rise of micro flats or just poor quality housing in general. Now, if you're looking to get into property, you're going to need a really good mortgage broker. The broker that I work with, they're called Mortgage Style. This video is sponsored by Mortgage Style. They can get you bridging finance, residential mortgages, HMO mortgages, you name it. They're the best in the UK. Check them out, link in the description. So, what does all of this mean for the future of UK housing? 1.5 million homes. If Labour can actually hit this target, we're going to see a relief in the buying and the rental market. However, the main challenge lies in, can they actually pull this off? Given the price of construction rates right now, it's going to be very difficult, but hopefully they can do it, because I do think it will make positive changes for everyone. Now, Labour's property reforms are far-reaching and they're ambitious as well. Their promise is to create a more tenant-friendly landscape while also reshaping how housing is developed in the UK. So if you're a developer or a landlord, these changes could mean longer timeframes and more regulations, but also open up new opportunities for you. Now, being a property developer or landlord in 2025 is all about being a professional landlord. The amateur landlords, they're just gonna get wiped out. Things that I would recommend you do to stay on top of your game is, number one, get educated. Get obsessed with learning about property and the different strategies within it. Number two, get yourself a mentor. Once you've determined what strategy you want to do, find someone that's doing it at a high level and get around them. If that's a paid mentor or someone you can make friends with, maybe work for them in exchange for knowledge. Or maybe you'll be able to make friends with a successful property investor and just learn from them. Get around them as much as physically possible. This will massively help you with your property journey. Number three, network with other successful property investors. As it's really true what they say, is your network is your net worth. It's also important to stay informed and be able to adapt. You need to be able to pivot. So the goal remains the same, but the strategy can change along the way. Now guys, let's keep in mind, this does not mean that property investing is dead. It is not dead by any means. It just means that as a property developer or a landlord, you need to approach it like a business. People that approach this like a side hobby or a side hustle, they will be wiped out. This is truly the era of professional landlords. If you would like to learn what strategies are working for myself in 2024 going on into 2025, then check out this video right here. And remember guys, like, comment, subscribe, drop a comment, let me know what you thought of this video, as your feedback really helps. See you all very soon.